Good morning, everybody. My name is Jamie Hall, and I'm the General Manager of Partner Sales here at Ingram Micro. We're really excited to bring you this productivity webinar today. We're going to have it action-packed for just 1 hour, so we're not looking to take too much of your time, but of course, this is all about productivity. So for productivity to be effective, we didn't want to take up too much of your time, so we've really focused on making sure that we really zoom in on what really matters to you. I'm going to go through a bit more detail on that now, and then I'm going to hand over to the awesome team at Using Technology Better to really run us through that. But I will start with a few housekeeping bits and pieces. The first one is obviously make sure that you're on mute. We have quite a large room today, so yeah, definitely leave yourself on mute. Leave your cameras off, and that way we get the best bandwidth for everybody as well. Questions and answers. So feel free to drop any banter and casual chit chat into the Teams chat. But we have a Slido Q&A link, which you'll see in the chat and on the presentation screen coming up shortly, that you can use for any
Jamie, you went on mute.
We'll try that again. Not quite sure what happened there. Where did we get to?
To the Q&A, and then we lost. You went on mute.
All right. Well, at least it wasn't from the very beginning. I was really sure that it wasn't on mute there. So from a Q&A perspective, just a reminder there, we are using Slido. There's a link in the chat, and there's also going to be a slide that will pop up shortly with a QR code as well, but there is an image in the chat as well that will get you to that sort of Q&A area, which is where you really want to be asking any questions from a webinar-specific point. But for any chit-chat, any banter, feel free to use the Teams chat as well. And I see a few of you are already using that one, which is great. So let me unhighlight myself and put it back to the main screen, and I'm going to get started on talking about the content itself. So the title of it really does sum it up, Maximising Productivity with AI, but really when Gen AI has come into play, it's really changed the game as far as what really can be unlocked from a productivity perspective. And so there's a couple of different ways that Ingram Micro are supporting partners in this kind of area. One is getting the infrastructure and the back end and the technical side all ready and organised. And to be fair, Using Technology Better is also a partner that can help us in that area as well. But we also have an amazing cloud team that does a lot in that space, and we have a lot of technical expertise to help you. But that's not what today is about. Today is ultimately about unlocking productivity for us as individuals. And we really wanted to run a series because we see it as a real gap in the market, and potentially a gap for in customers and the wider corporate community as well. It's like there's so much buzz and so much noise about AI and Gen AI and what it means and what it does, but when you actually really have a conversation with somebody and say, how are you using it in your day-to-day to gain time back, to gain productivity, there's some really mixed feedback on that one. So again, we wanted to make the session purely about that. So regardless of the role that you're in, regardless of what you do, today should really be something that everyone should be able to take something away from today. So the next part that I want to talk about was we're going to zoom in on the Microsoft suite itself, and Copilot is obviously a key part of that. But I really wanted to set the scene before I hand over to the Using Technology Better team and do an introduction to them, that there are lots of different versions of Copilot. Copilot is an umbrella term for lots of different parts of the Microsoft ecosystem. So I really wanted to set the scene and build that background and use some examples, right? So there's Copilot in Windows 11, there's Copilot in Edge, there's Copilot in Office 365. There are all these different versions. Now, depending on the version that you're using, it's going to really give you a very different outcome. So I do want to clarify and zoom in. Today, we're going to be zooming in on Office 365 or Copilot for Office 365. And really, from a productivity standpoint, that is a really, really good place to start. And it's not to say that you can't gain productivity from all the other parts. They will all give you different bits and pieces. But today we're going to zoom in on there because there's some really quick wins and some really awesome examples and live demos that we can really run through today. So if you could flick to the next slide, team. I really do want to introduce the amazing team at Using Technology Better. Using Technology Better, and I'm probably not going to do the best explanation, and I'll let the team fill in the gaps. But Using Technology Better is an amazing, not only training provider, but partner that you can partner with that's going to be able to help enable you to use technology better, right? So from Microsoft all the way through the entire basically mainstream ecosystem to bespoke and specific trainings. They will do packages from standard packages all the way through to very specific consulted productivity and training packages that will help not only us as partners and resellers in the ecosystem or distributors in the ecosystem, but all the way through to end customers, really enabling them to get the most out of the technology. And so who better to talk to us today and to really share this message today than Using Technology Better? So I'd love to introduce Adrian and Joseph, who are going to be our speakers for the next 45 or 30 odd minutes. We're going to leave a little bit of time at the end for Q&A. And again, reminder, the Q&A, anything specific to this webinar, please use the Slido. But if you've got any cheeky banter, feel free to drop that into the Teams chat. But with that, I will hand over to Joseph and Adrian. Thank you.
Kia ora koutou katoa, ko Joseph Takawingawa, ko Taupo aho, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Joseph and I hail from Taupo. So if I seem a bit anxious, that's just because we live in fear of spontaneous combustion here in Taupo and not for any other reason. I'm a technical trainer here at UTB, been with the company for about 3 years now, and I've been working in IT for over 20 years, but I won't bore you with that long backstory. I have a book on that one, which you feel free to look up. Just kidding, I don't, but maybe one day I will. I will hand you over now to Adrian before I ramble on any longer, and he will have a chat to you about himself.
Yeah,
Adrian.
G'day, welcome. Look, I'm Adrian. I like to cut Joe off, otherwise we'll be here forever hearing about his life story. I'm based in Adelaide in South Australia, so I'm in the Adelaide Hills, and it's very early morning here for me, so the rest of the house is quiet, and I'm coming to you from my spare bedroom. My background is I'm an ex-teacher, and I've been in the IT space or training in here with UTB for 7 years. But I've been using these tools all the way through my education. And if these things landed when I was in my role, I would be a very happy chappy. So today, hopefully, we're going to show you some places where you can make some gains. What would be really handy too, if you could in the Slido there, just whack in where you would like AI to be able to help you in your workflows. So where are your pain points where you'd love to have AI to either help you or your customers to be able to make their lives better. So it'd be great to know those kind of things, because then we'll address the way we present today along those lines as well. Over to you, Joe.
If there's something that you would like AI to be able to do as well, I'd love to hear your ideas around that one. Don't add dishes or household chores, please. That's nothing to do with productivity at work, even though I would personally love that. It's not what we're here for today. So yes. Jump into the Slido if you can. There's the QR code there, the link, it's also in the chat. And now we're just going to jump into what is Microsoft 365 Copilot. Just set the scene today around the tools that we're going to be using. So what is Microsoft 365 Copilot and how is it different from other AIs that are out there? So of course it's Gen AI, generative AI, and it runs off an LLM, a large language model. So the way that Microsoft 365 Copilot differs from the others is that it uses something that's called Microsoft Coins grounding. And so what it does is it uses the LLM to translate the language that you're putting into your prompt. And we're going to chat a little bit about what prompts are later and what they look like and what makes a good prompt. And then it uses Microsoft Graph to access your email, your docs, your calendar, your chat, your meetings, and your contacts to give you the information that you need in the context of your organization. So grounding helps ground that to your organization, keep it very succinct and simple. Now, this does mean that your prompts need to be fairly succinct as well. You can't just throw in something random and expect to get exactly what you need back. It has to be crafted in a specific way. So this, to me, this is a blessing because it means that you'll also get a lot more efficient at prompting, and it also means that your responses are always going to be usable as well. Now, Microsoft also uses really, really good privacy and security. So rather than using your data to train an LLM, like other parties will do, I'm not going to name names, this data is not stored on the Azure OpenAI services. So it's not cached anywhere. It stays within your organization. So super, super important. Now that's actually quite relevant to my next conversation as well, where Microsoft's latest data is showing that 75% of all people are already using AI in the workplace. And this isn't AI necessarily that the organization has given them access to. So super, super important that you do use AI that is endorsed by your organization, that stays within the organization so that you're not oversharing data out there into the open world. So here's a little bit of what you're going to learn today by hanging out with us. We're going to have a look at some workflows. So some solutions in improving your everyday workflows, some content creation management, and then taking that to the next level. And I want all of you, every single one of you today, to just take one thing away from you that you can then implement in your every single day. So one interaction with AI that you are going to implement every day. And this is important, just like if you're trying to grow a new muscle or an existing one, you have to exercise it every day, right? So this is the same with AI. This is a new tool. We all need to be exercising and using that tool every day so that we can get better at it and so that we can be ready for the next step in AI, which isn't too far off actually, but we won't go into that just yet. So of course, there is the competitive advantage side of AI as well. So it's really important that we stay on top of it for that reason. So efficiency and productivity, making data-driven decisions.
Come
and
up here
enhancing.
right now. Let's go. Come on.
Someone needs to mute themselves. Hold on, more. Cool. Cool, and enhancing the customer experience. So these are just some ways that we can make sure that we have the competitive advantage. Now, first up, before I dive into that a little bit more, I just want to address the elephant in the room. You're all allowed to use AI. It's not cheating. You're not cutting corners. You're all allowed to use it. And in fact, if you're not, you're falling behind. Okay? Of course, there are ethical ways to use AI. And, you know, we are the, we know the subject, we know our business better than anyone else. So we should be using those skills that we have to use AI to be our assistants, not to do things for us and cut that sort of side of it out, right? So there's efficiency gains to be had across all departments as well with AI. So first of all, we need to discover the bottlenecks. We need to apply AI and fine-tune those workflows. And then of course, training is the most important aspect as well. So maybe I'm biased, but training is super important, right? With ongoing quality training on core concepts and department-specific workflows, we can ensure that teams are using AI in an ethical and productive manner. And of course, that is going to help with our return on investment. Now, this little slide shows a use case from Microsoft. It's pretty generic. This is for HR, but this works across basically all departments, right? They all look very, very similar. We use Copilot in Word to generate a new document. We use, this is the usual, whoops, sorry, skip past that. We use the normal Copilot tool to look for things within our organization. We use Copilot in Loop. I'm going to show you how we use Copilot in Teams. And Adrian's going to show you how we use Copilot in Word and PowerPoint as well shortly. All right, that's enough from me. I could go on forever. So I'm going to hand you over to Adrian, who's going to talk to you a bit about prompt engineering.
Thanks, Joe. Now, one of the probably the things that I'm finding, because we've been in this world for, golly, I don't know how many, maybe most of this year, we've been playing in this space and using the Gen AI to help us with our workflows. And as Joe said, you're not cheating, you're actually enhancing what you're doing already. You're the subject matter expert. You know what you're on about. You're using this tool to break the back of the things that normally take a bit of time. Now, it's slightly different in terms of using Gen AI as compared to doing just say like a normal search or a Google search where you just drop something into the browser and you hope you get a really quick answer. Now, prompt engineering is actually asking the right questions. It's like having a conversation with the device or the application that you're using to be able to get a response at the end. The more detailed that kind of conversation is, the better the response is. And we kind of say that when you are dealing with this, there's probably some elements that you need to have in there that are really quite good to be able to make the prompt or make the return from that Gen AI even better. You give the situation a role, define what that goal is inside that, specify the audience, set the restrictions in the style that you're trying to get in terms of the output, and then what do you want that output to look like. Now, these are 5 things here that you could use, but we suggest that 2 should be in any prompt as a minimum. And depending on who you read, some people say keep your prompts around 21 words. I find that very hard. So I normally try to elaborate on my prompts to be able to make them a bit more accurate. Once you get a good prompt that works, save it somewhere, then you can always come back to it, especially for the structure and what you're doing as well. I've got some great prompts that I use to create images, and I've kept them and I keep on using them over and over again. So if you have a look on the right-hand side of the screen here, a simple prompt could be create a PR campaign to communicate internally for your new process for managing, for your new performance management process. You've got this process you need to do. That will give you a response, a reply that you could use in your context. Or you could add more information to it by letting it know that you're a HR manager, you've got this performance creation program that you're working on, you've got to create some documentation on it. You're looking at your current workers that you've got in your space, and you've got links to documents and image suggestions, and you want a detailed series of documents that you can use internally, but also in communication posts, which might be emails and might even be in times of that social media space as well. So you've become very refined with the way in which you're asking the questions, and then your response or your return from the Gen AI is going to be a lot better. So as you look through today, as we show you some things today, just take that into account. Just think about those things. Think about the roles that you've got there when you are creating these Gen AI rules, or these Gen AI prompts, I should say. So as we go through, we're going to be showing you some demonstrations on how you can use it in your workflows. Apply this to where you're at. And as Joe said, pick one thing that you go, that's really cool. I'd love to be able to try that. Or I'd love to be able to show someone else how to do this. So back to Joe to do this first lot of demos.
Oh, thanks, Adrian. Just swap over now. So if any of you have the screen real estate, or maybe you have a second screen, feel free to go along with me. If you've got a Copilot license, of course, that would be awesome. Then we can all learn together. Wicked. All right, so there's a few different ways we can access Copilot. Now, in this demo, I'm going to show you how we can use Copilot to declutter our inbox, or rather deal with that cognitive load that sometimes is a massive lot of unread emails and tasks that you have to do. Now, I don't know about you, but when I go on holiday or if I'm away sick, I come back to an inbox that is a bit ridiculous. My most recent was I was away for a week and I had 142 emails when I got back. Not great. So I'm going to show you a little bit on how we can tackle that. And then we're just going to jump in and have a look at how you can use Copilot in Teams for your meetings. And then we're going to have a look at Excel after that. All right, so we can access Copilot in a few different ways here. We can access it directly from Microsoft 365 Suite, either be pinned on the side, or it'll be under the waffle, under more apps. But for this, we're just going to jump straight to Outlook, and I'm just going to show you how to use it within the Outlook space. So here we go. We've got 151 emails unread in this inbox. We've even got some IT tickets. That's quite a lot to jump through. Let's say I've been away for a week and I need to get on top of things. So we've got Copilot at the top right here. I'll just turn on my little thing. There we go. So I'm just going to click on this and bring out the blade. Now from here, I can easily ask Copilot to summarize my task for the week or to tell me what I've missed. So you get these little ideas here as well, which you can click on. So stay on top, and it will summarize everything that you've got in your mailbox that you need to stay on top of. So for this, I'm just going to say, tell me what I've missed over the last 7 days. Now, depending on how much data it needs to look at, your internet connection and the speed of your device, it will be either very quick to respond or it could take a little bit of time. So here it goes. Awesome.
You got a lot to do, Joe.
I do, yep. That is a lot. Now, this is actually a really great way of just starting your day, to be honest. I know, Adrian, you do this. You jump in, you just throw this in Copilot, and rather than combing through all your emails, this is going to be an incredible way to start your day, rather than just going through them all one by one. Because not only do you get these nice little summaries, but you see these little numbers here. So if I hover over this number, it actually shows me the file that it's talking about. And I can click on this file and go directly to it. And same with this Carissa modify the social media captions and so on. If it's an email, it'll give you a link to the email and you can go directly to it. If it's a Teams chat, because it pulls information from Teams as well, not just from Outlook, because you should be using Teams for internal collaboration and communication. You can click on it and it will pop it out in a new window here.
Yeah, I'm going to cut in there, Joe. So this is the way we operate. We just kind of cut people off because that's what we like doing, in a polite and positive way. I use Copilot inside Teams. And so I get Teams to say, what have I missed? And it will go through my Teams and through my email to be able to work out what I've missed across both those platforms. And then I ask it, what are the important things that I need to do first up? And then it will list them off for me. So instead of scrolling through stuff and becoming kind of overwhelmed with what's going on, it cuts that corner and I deal with those things first, which is really, really handy.
Yeah, I mean that's where it's AI is not a one and done sort of situation. It's a conversation you're having with it. So you get a result and then you continue that conversation with it to fine tune that data. So that's perfect example, Adrian. Thank you. Now, next up, because of time constraints, I'm going to show you Teams, and we'll jump into Teams now, and I'll show you a little something you can do in here as well. So this is a meeting that we've had previously. Now, some of you, if you've got Copilot already enabled for you, what you can do if you're having an internal meeting or a meeting that was organized within your organization that other people joined from outside of it, as long as it was organized in your domain or on your tenant, then you will be able to use Copilot. And so we can tell that Copilot's been used to create a transcription of this meeting because it's got a little 2 speakers, 1 ant mention, 5 tasks. We've got a nice little transcript here and we can view a recap of this meeting. So I'm just going to select view recap. And we can see here, you get this nice little, we've got our video up here. We've got our speakers. We can see each of these people were speaking. We've got our AI generated notes. We can also create our own notes in Loop if we want to. At mentions and the transcript. Now these AI notes are amazing. You will have noticed that there's some tasks here already. So we've got 5 follow-up tasks that Copilot has come up with based on the conversation. That's fantastic. Now if I was to click on the meeting notes, it's going to expand it and give me a little bit more detail around everything it has pulled out. This is really great because it gives you this nice little summary, but also you can click on these. Let's click on this one, and it takes you to that moment in the video. So then you can actually look.
Well, if you want to have a look through it and then come back to me with your thoughts, and I can certainly help you do that if you want.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be good. And we should probably pull someone else in too, like Paul would come in to bring his creative.
So there we go. We should bring someone else into it, bring Paul into it to bring his creative spin on it. So it's pulled that out of the video and it's got that transcript and you can just click on it and it will take you to those points in the video very quickly and easily. So this is fantastic because I don't know about you, but I hate when we go into a staff meeting, or we don't do that anymore, but it used to be who's taking the notes, who's doing the minutes, right? And who wants to be doing that? Wouldn't you rather be completely present in the meeting and be able to sit there and have these conversations rather than worrying about taking notes? So that eliminates it completely. You don't no longer have that stress and you can just sit there, enjoy the meeting and put your input into it as well. So fantastic.
And the great thing about that, Joe, too, is because you're present, you can actually follow the flow of the conversation. You don't have to worry about taking down notes, and the summaries at the end give you action notes that you can do, and then you can actually put them into action. Time you have your next meeting, you're being more productive. I'm using it a lot with meetings with clients. So I have a sit down, I say, look, can I record this meeting? I get the transcript, then I condense that, whack it into an email, send it back to them, and we're done and dusted. We've got a record of the meeting, all good with action points, really quick.
Yeah, very cool. Now, at the moment, you can't have these follow-up tasks added to your tasks or your to-do list using Copilot, but what you can do is using the Copilot prompts, either here or in Microsoft 365, is you can actually tell it, say, add the tasks to and make a reminder for the 5 tasks in the staff meeting. So if I was to do that, better work. So what it should do after going through its thing is it should ask me to give it a date and time to add to my calendar to remind me to run through those 5 tasks. Now, I haven't tried this before, so if it doesn't work, my apologies. But I have added things to my calendar before using Copilot. So, okay, so there we go. It's got a misunderstanding. We'll just gloss over that and I'll move on to the next demo. Now, just real quickly as well, you can use Copilot within Outlook to draft new emails as well. So if I go to a new email, you'll see down the bottom here, it's got the / to draft with Copilot. You also get the little Copilot button at the top here, where you can also select coaching. So if you don't want it to write the emails for you, you can have it coach you through the emails. And just so that maybe you get a little bit better at writing in a particular style or particular way, this can be really, really great for interns or things like that. Just to use that so they can get more comfortable with using a bit more less casual conversation, I suppose, within the emails. Now, drafting with Copilot's really cool because if I click on this and I'd say draft an email to the team about how I was away for a week and I will get on top of my tasks. Now, before I hit enter and generate that, we've got this little button down here. We've got the generate options where you can adjust the tone. So rather than having to tell it what you want the tone and the length to be and don't use bullet points and blah, 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 you can do all that directly here. So I'm going to keep it casual and I'm going to leave it on medium and it remembers these options. So whatever you last picked is what it's going to be. So just keep that in mind and hit generate. Now, the more loose you are with your input, the more it's going to hallucinate. So hallucinations are something that everyone needs to be aware of with generative AI, and that's where it comes up with its own information, fills in its own gaps, just because it can. So you really need to be very concise with your prompting. It doesn't necessarily mean it has to be really long, but just really think about what you're telling it to do and where the potential gaps are in what you've told it to do. Cool. Cool, but that looks good. Awesome. So that saved me a whole lot of time. I can hit keep it and send it through to them. Nice and easy. All right, so next up, I'm going to jump over to Excel and look at Copilot in Excel. So I'm going to be using the web version of Excel. I don't usually do this. I prefer the desktop version, and Copilot runs perfectly fine in the desktop version as well. In fact, they're pretty much on par, so that's great. Now, before I jump into the sheet and show you a few things here, I'm just going to talk very briefly about Copilot Finance. And I know it's cut off a little bit there. This probably already looks really small for all of you. So there is Copilot Finance as well. Now, this is obviously very specific to the finance department, so I'm not going to go into too much detail on this tool today. However, this is an amazing tool. Very, very cool. Your finance team will absolutely love it, I promise you. I will just show you very briefly what that looks like. So with a Copilot Finance, you can bring out the blade and you can reconcile your data very easily with it. Now, the analyze variances is on it's on private preview at the moment. Some people have access to it. I don't with this one. Now I'm just going to show you one that I've prepared earlier. So this is our demo trip budget. So we can see the budget there. Then we've got our demo bank statement. So everything that's been paid for. Cool. Now this is the reconciled report that Copilot has come out with. So this is what it spat out at the end of it. So it's reconciled the data we've got here. So we can see here, cool, 180 difference. Really, really, really cool. So this will save a lot of time for the finance team. And it actually, I can't show you because it does take a long time to generate it. Maybe if I started it now, it'll be done by the end of my demo. But it actually gives you a full rundown on why it's given you this information, and it tells you, a full thing that you could basically copy and paste into an email and send through to someone about a detailed report on what's going on with all this data that's in here. So absolutely fantastic tool, massive time saver. By just clicking a few buttons, you've got a reconciliation report that may have taken a long time otherwise, or required a whole lot of other tools. All right, so let's have a look at Copilot in Excel. Now, I don't know about you, but I mean, I dabble in Excel. I'm not like Adrian here. Adrian is an Excel pro. That's why he's not doing this today. But I dabble a little bit, so I know a few things about it, but I don't remember all the formulas in Excel. So for me, being able to have that extra headspace of not having to remember formulas, but still being able to use them is massive. And that's my favorite feature in Copilot in Excel, is having it create formulas for you and not having to go and search them on the internet. And also having it tell you why it chose those formulas when you described what you wanted it to do. I think that's the biggest one. And that's the one thing I really love about this, is that it doesn't just tell you, do this. It tells you why you should do that. And that is a great, great learning experience.
I'm going to cut in there, Joe, too, because obviously, if you use Sheets a lot and you're inside your spreadsheet all the time and you've done stuff, you do develop habits as workarounds because that's just the way you've done it. With this, it actually shows you the most efficient way to write those formulas. And sometimes that's a complete eye-opener because you haven't done it before. And then it makes the rest of your sheets even more efficient as well. So it's a really nice learning curve as well. It's a subtle kind of head fake of using the generative AI in this space. Sorry, Joe, back to you.
Yeah, all good. Sweet. So we've got this awesome sheet here that's from Microsoft. Very beautifully laid out, very refined, good data here. So let's just say you're part of the sales team, and you've been given the sales from the last couple of years, and you need to have a look at your pricing tiers. We've got some pricing tiers over here, and also your discount bands, and make sure that you're not discounting things too much. So we can see the discounts here. Awesome. So we need to figure out if we're still making a profit, or if there are areas that we could maybe tighten things up a wee bit. So we've got to start somewhere, right? So let's throw in a prompt. Let's go with visualize the total profits by year versus gross sales. See what we get back. Shouldn't take too long. It's not too much data here. I think we've got 900 entries or so. So there we go. Awesome. So we get this nice little visual here where it's visualized the profit and gross sales by year. That's fantastic. And then it gives you a little description. Like I said, it always gives you a little description about what it's given you. So you can copy that with this visual as well. You also get this little button here so you can add it to your sheet if you want to. So if I click that, creates a new sheet, gives you the breakdown with the visual. So nice and easy. You can actually just tell it what you want it to do. Now, something else you could do if you weren't sure what you want it to do is you could actually just ask it. You could just say, hey, what stands out in my data? What are the consistencies? What are the inconsistencies? And it's going to give you a response as well. And it's going to look through the data and find out what those are. And it doesn't just work with financial data, it works with everything. I did a demo the other week for our IT managers where we exported a list of SharePoint sites. It was something like 6,400 SharePoint sites at a school. And we needed to work out which ones actually weren't being used and when they went dormant and how much data they had stored on them. And by just telling Copilot that, it was able to immediately narrow it down and save hours and hours of time combing through those sites. There's no reports built into Microsoft 365 that would have been able to quickly tell someone that information. So that is a massive time saver. It's like I said, Excel, Copilot in Excel is awesome. It's really great. All right, so next up, it would be really good just looking at the sheet to be able to easily identify when we made a profit, how much percentage of profits, and when we made a loss. I think that would be really, really good. So let's get it to create a formula showing the percentage of profit using the costs of goods sold and the sales columns, and just see what that looks like. Cool. So here we go. We've got our formula at the top here. So it gives you the formula. You can quickly and easily see that. And it shows you a preview of what it would look like. And then, to save you even more time, and if I hover over it, you can see it sort of showed up there briefly. You can just insert that column. No messing around. Done. The column's there. Now I can easily scroll through this data and I can see when we made a profit, how much of it was profit, and when it was a loss. So we can see here that we've got some minus. That's not great. It's not what we want. So that's made it very, very simple to go through this data and pull out any outliers. Now we could have actually just asked it. We could have just said, hey, Copilot, show me every instance where we made a loss. And it would have done that. So you can cut right to the chase if you want to. You don't have to go through all this. I'm just showing you all this so that you can sort of see what you can and can't do. Just depends on how concise you want to be. Now, something else we can do, I prefer when using filters and highlights to just do it manually because it's fairly quick that way. However, if you're wanting to do multiple at a time, Copilot's fantastic. So you can actually tell it to do, filter by discount band high and profit amount that is negative. And it will do both those things at the same time. So that's a great time saver. And then just because I'm aware I'm taking up all the time, I am going to, once that's done that, hand you over to Adrian. Otherwise, I'm going to go on way too long, and I'm sure Adrian's got lots he wants to show you as well. Cool. So we can see it's just filtered that view for me entirely.
And before Joe disappears, if you've ever used Excel in tables, the way it writes its formulas is different. So it's using those tables as table references, and you can see in the formula there that it's actually grabbing the column headers to be able to build that out as well, which is pretty cool because most people will know how to use the Excel easily. And once you start using tables and pulling data from that, and especially when you start grabbing data into pivot tables, this helps you actually create them a lot easier and a lot quicker. It's amazing, really amazing. So you can see that we could spend all our time in this space here, but I'm going to jump into a different area. I'm going to come into, there we go. I'm going to come into Word. So I've got sitting in here, I've got Copilot sitting inside Word. So in this space, you can see that I've got my Word open. It looks pretty terrific for me. And because it's inside our environment, Copilot appears here. Don't worry about these funny letters that appear, but also over here, where I can open up the blade. Now, if you've got a big document, someone sent you a big lot of stuff that you need to look at. It could be a PDF, it could be anything that you're working on, and you think, oh my goodness, I don't have time to read all of that stuff. If I come into Copilot, I can actually come down here and say, analyze this document for me and tell me the things that I need to be paying attention to if I am this type of person. So it will go through and read it for you. It's just absolutely brilliant. But I don't want to do that. I don't want to do the analysis bit. I want to look at the creation bit, because often what we have to do is we have to create stuff in our roles. Now, it could be a documentation and it could also be a slide deck. So I want to kind of combine those two things together. So just bear with me and pretend that we have this laptop, the KCT 400. It's a fantastic laptop. It's completely fictional. I built this completely out of Gen AI. And we've got this laptop that we're about to release to clients. And so here's our fact sheet. It's got all the stuff about it. Now, once again, this is completely generated by AI. And actually, quite a lot of it makes sense too. It'd be quite a good laptop. Anyway, I've just got it to create a bit of like a list of all the things that are sitting inside this laptop, which is great. Now, you've been asked by a client to create a how-to guide. Now, you could go through this and you can have a look, or you could find a how-to guide off the web and then modify it yourself. But wouldn't it be better if you could get AI to build that actually out for you, to actually generate your response? So I've got this sitting inside my OneDrive. It's all saved. It's all looking cool. And I'm just going to come back to my document, which is sitting under here. Actually, it's going to give me a tick. I'll just go grab it. Here it is. Bye. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to the Copilot prompt and ask it to create that guide for me. So I'm going to get it to create the guide for me. It's basically, I'm an IT manager, giving it a role. You're developing a how-to guide for end users. Create a detailed guide for the KTC 400. Now, nothing exists called the KTC 400, but you've got it on your files. You've already got it sitting inside your OneDrive or inside your SharePoint. So what you do is you come down to your reference your content, pop open that, and it's now going to search through your content to find out what it is. And here's my laptop specs, which is fantastic. I can grab that. And it's going to go and grab that document and use that as a reference point to build out what I want it to do. Now, this means your hallucinations are lower just because of the fact that you're using your old data, and you can put up to 5 documents in here as well, but I'm going to use 1. I can then go generate. It's going to run through that and it's going to create that user guide for me. Now, it doesn't take too long to do it, and it will build it out and it will give you the whole thing about how you're meant to use it and give you the way in which you should be using it in your role. So here we go. It tells me about it, how to set it up, goes through the setups, goes through the launching of it, make sure it's charging, all that stuff that we want to give clients. This will create for us based on the specs that we've given it in that original document. If I had 4 documents, it would do the same thing. It would grab those things from the 4 document and put it all together. So it's added all these things in here. It's got the Windows 10 license, which is probably a bit old, but that's okay. And it's got a pretend phone number here, which you can ring. Now that one's not going to work, so that is a hallucination. But you can see that it's got all my information here, how to run it, how to multitask. It's got a whole lot of things in here that you can use for this. Now, sometimes the information isn't quite correct, but generally you're getting a pretty good response for this space. So let's pretend that's our workflow. We've been given a new device, we've got the specs, we've got to do the how-to guide, but now we've got to do a presentation to someone. So we want to grab this information and create a presentation for it. Now, if you are a PowerPoint person and you love PowerPoint and you just kind of thrive in that space, creating a PowerPoint is really easy and freeing. But if you're the kind of person that you're not too bad at PowerPoint, but you think, oh my goodness, it would be great if I could break the back of it and then use just a few tools to be able to make a PowerPoint presentation better, that would be really cool. So let's have a look at a PowerPoint deck we've got here. This is one from Ingram. So this is Ingram's standard deck that they've got. And what we want to do is we want to incorporate their style in creating a new slide deck based on the KTC 400, which is a great device. So inside here, you'll notice because I'm sitting inside my Copilot, inside my environment, I've got this little Copilot thing up here. Don't worry about the ZM. This is a weird thing. It happens when I use my pointer. But up here, I've got Copilot sitting here. And if I crank that open, I get the blade, which appears on the left-hand side here in just a sec. And it's got a whole lot of things what I can do this. Now, it's got some prompts. You can create a presentation from a file. You can summarize it. And what I want to do is I want to create a presentation from a file that I've got, which is obviously my how-to guide for my KTC 400. So I click on that and it's going to come through here. Here's my user guide there. It's just been created for me. That's my brand new one. I've got another user guide, but I'm going to use the one that I've just built then. Click on that. Then it's going to go and build that out for me. So it will read through your document. It'll comb through all the key bits here. And what it's going to do, it's going to comb through it and it's going to come and do that. It's going to build it out. Creating a new presentation will say, yes, I want to redo that. And it's going to make those changes and build it out for me. Now, what it should do, it should grab the style that we've already got here and add to the style. If it doesn't, I'll show you a really cool workaround. So it's going through the bits and pieces that are going to need to be there. It's building it out for me, and it's going to generate the slides. It also will generate my presenter notes. So it's going to grab the information from my document, put those presenter notes inside my slide deck, and then build my slide deck out for me. Now, this often will take you a long bunch of time to be able to do it, but by using this, you're breaking the back of that work to be able to then refine it for you. Now, I want to show you 2 tricks at the end, just when it starts building it out. Depending on how big the document is and those kind of things, how long it will take to build it out. But if you think of how long this will take you in a normal environment, this saves you a bundle of time. Now, as I'm talking, it's actually taking more time than I thought it would, but it's getting there. So that document was quite long. I've done it with 2 or 3 documents and drawn it together. And here it is. It's brought in my KTC 400. Looks beautiful, doesn't it? So I can come scrolling down, and I've now got all my information up that I need. And if I come down to my presenter notes down the bottom here, you'll see I've got notes down the bottom here as well to be able to add to it as well. So now it's used the style from Ingram. It's got the bits and pieces that you would use, and it's got the bits and things that you need to be able to talk about in this space. Now, obviously, some of the fonts in this one here in particular aren't quite cool, but you can then add to it as well. Now, what you can do, so let's have a look at this one here, the agenda one. That doesn't quite look that nice, but because you've got the designer tool built into your slide deck as well, you can come to the designer tool. It will look at this. It'll give you a design that might make that page look a little bit better, and then it will build it out for you as well. So you can build these out and add this to your slide deck to make it look even better for you as well. So I've taken a document that didn't exist. I've created a how-to guide. I've then come from that how-to guide and now got a presentation on it, and all I need to do is refine what it looks like. So for me, that workflow is amazing. I can actually make my life a lot easier. I can make my standardized presentations look really good. And I'm in a spot now where I can just refine this and I don't have to start from scratch. So for me, that is a time-saving thing. A value adds to the work that I'm doing. It makes me be able to use my skills in refining a presentation better rather than using the skills that I probably don't have to create a presentation, which means it's going to be better for everyone in the long run. So it's a really nice way of being able to incorporate it. Now, the best thing about Copilot is because it's living inside your environment, inside your tenant, then your data is in that space. It doesn't get shared externally. You're not training the model. You're just using your data, as Joe said right at the beginning, to be able to create what you've got there. One of the things I have noticed is that when I am creating a document, it does take Copilot a while to realize that it actually lives inside my OneDrive or inside SharePoint. It normally takes a couple of minutes. So if I create a document and then want to use that to create another one, it takes a little bit of time for it to be there. But once it's there, it'll just come through and load it up really quickly. I've done this PowerPoint presentation with an 800-page PDF that I converted to a Word document. I threw it into here and it did a summary of a financial report of BHP, which is a company here in Australia, which you've probably heard of, and it just summarized their financial report for the year 2022. Unbelievable, did it in a couple of minutes. So that is a time-saving space with big bits of stuff that you can use to make your workflows even better. I'm now going to throw back to Joe.
Thanks, Adrian. It's probably worth noting as well that everything we do with Copilot and AI is a good first draft. With the exceptions of maybe some things in Excel. So, it's really important to take the time to look over your work as well before you just flick it through. Don't just publish it straight away. Think of everything you do in there as a good first draft. Now, something else as well, it's really, really important for us to actually, to maximize that time we're saving, that we don't squander that time. So think about what are some tasks within your organization that you would love to reduce the time spent on so that you can do the things that you really enjoy doing or the things that bring the company more revenue? So really, really important. That is where you're going to see the biggest return on investment, saving that time and then using that time appropriately rather than going out and mowing the lawns or chilling outside in the sun with the dog. Like I tend to do, or sitting around in the office talking to people, or whatever it is. Just really have a think about how you can use that time to actually, get some tangible ROI.
Awesome. Thank you, team. And that was really eye-opening. There was plenty of stuff in there that I had not even considered could be a workflow. So that was awesome. That was awesome. Thank you. So we're about to switch over to Q&A. But before we do that, I just wanted to quickly add a couple of extra sort of points. First of all, what we've done today is we've tried to cram as much as we can into a short period of time. You could have sessions very specifically on any one of those topics and run it for quite a longer period and drive a lot more value on that particular topic or workflow. But today was really about giving you a bit of a taster, giving you some stuff to take away without sort of drilling into just one example and then kind of missing the mark with the wider audience. But I hope you can kind of see the power and the potential of not only Copilot and what that's bringing and Gen AI is bringing to us as individuals in our working roles, but also what using technology better can be doing to help us, and even more importantly, our end customers, right? And those end customers and the value that can be driven, the chances are a lot of them have even potentially got trial licenses for Copilot. Some of the usage stats on some of those trial licenses is, maybe out of those trials, only a couple of people are really utilizing them. And that's because there's just so much that needs to be explored, and with a little bit of explanation, a little bit of a run through, you can really kind of get a whole lot more out of it. So we really do want to run this as a longer series, and we're really looking to have more productivity sessions for you. But we also want you to be able to understand to reach out, because these can be tailored. We can set these up. We can create specific programs for you and your customers to really drive that value and to drive that optimization and productivity for you guys and tailored to you. So the last sort of bit that I would sort of wanted to add is it's early days for Gen AI, right? This is super early. You can see that, we're only just scratching the surface, but more importantly, there's going to be extra functionality, extra features, extra things that we're going to be able to do along the way, and it's just going to continuously expand and evolve. So you can imagine, 6 months time from now, if we're going to run the same session, there's going to be a whole lot more that we can be adding, right? And it's only going to get better from here. So very exciting. Now's the time to jump onto it and start to use this and get into it, because it's only going to stack and add from here.
It's the fastest growing technological advancement in human history. So, yeah.
Yep. And the last tip from me that I wanted to share was, along the way, when you're trying these things, and like Joseph mentioned, right, is like start to use this stuff as you're experimenting and trying. Don't forget, if you get across a solution that you've kind of created with Gen AI, ask it to write the prompt for you so you can use it again and save that. So think about something like a prompt library, and that's literally just saving those prompts off to maybe a text file or a Word document or whatever. Hold them off to the side, keep your favorite ones, but don't be afraid to ask Gen AI to write you that prompt perfectly as well at the end. Once you've already kind of worked it out, you might have had to had a couple of goes at it. It will write you the perfect prompt to then save off, use again. So that's another really good one to consider. Now with the Q&A, we've got lots of Q&A. We're going to try and get through as much as we can in the time that we have. If we don't get to all the questions, we will cover them in another way. We'll try and get those answers to you separately. We're also going to throw up on the screen a reminder for the next webinar that we have going. So we'll throw that up in a moment. There is a Windows 11 webinar and some of the wider benefits that we can drive and have with that. And that's really an exciting sort of offering across the board of what that brings there. And we're also going to fire out a survey at the end for you to add any feedback or anything that you'd want to see in a future session. So keep your eyes peeled for that survey as well. But with that, all the housekeeping's now done. We'll jump into the Q&A. Adrian, Joseph, I'm happy for you guys just to kind of run top down on these and just kind of cut straight through the answers if you can. Yep. I'll hand back to you.
Cool. I would like it to help manage my Outlook and calendar to help me identify important emails and follow-ups that need to be scheduled. So I think we answered that one in my demo. So if you have any more questions around that and how that can be streamlined, just reach out. How can Copilot use my tone pick up my language from existing emails? So it's not so much going to do that. You've got those tone choice options. But if you do want it to be able to utilize your tone, what you would want to do is basically create a file or a library that includes your tone of voice. And you would reference that file every time you got it to write something. And that way it would be stuck to the parameters of your tone of voice. So that's the best way to do that. And in fact, I would recommend that everyone creates a library, which is the tone of voice for your organization, because it means that you can get it to draft up all sorts of stuff within those parameters, which can be very, very broad. So that's a good little tip. Can you use classic Outlook? So I'm assuming you mean the desktop app, and I'm not entirely sure if the old desktop app supports it. I would say probably not. I'm not 100% on that though. Yeah. Why would you manually create a PowerPoint again?
Yeah, Devin did that one for you. It's all good.
Yeah. How to utilize Copilot to assist customers with business requirements, meeting notes, and information proposals. So Using Copilot to assist customers with business requirements, you can use Copilot Studio where you can build out your own Copilots, and then you can have those on your website and they have access to whatever data you want to give it access to. So that way people could jump onto your website, interact with a Copilot, asking it for maybe some pricing or some basic overviews or information on your organization. Definitely possible. Using Copilot to summarize Teams meetings and action points for members. Yes, we ran over that one. Email management and technical service desk ticket auto summary. So you can do it. You can use that Outlook, like the demo I showed you. You can use Copilot in Outlook to summarize your tickets that you've got coming through from an email. But again, you could also build your own Copilot and Copilot Studio to deal with some of those IT tickets. And then don't forget, most most AI providers have announced that they've got a new version of AI coming where it's basically auto attendance. So you can actually just set them to do tasks while you're off doing something else. So it's a bit different from your regular generative AI, where you could have an AI monitoring your inbox and actually interacting and emailing automatically. So that is coming as well.
There's one there, Joe, about working one file is nice, but can we get the AI to comb through multiple files? Yes, you can do that inside that. When I did that generative bit inside the document, you can list off 5 or 6 documents and say, comb through these, find the 5 important points that I need to be looking at, or the 5 features of these devices, or compare these devices. It'll do that for you inside that generative space inside Word. So it'll do that easily for you in that space, which is really cool. Saves you a bundle of time as well. There's another one a bit further down, asked about sitting in a meeting. Do you need to be, if I'm sitting in a room and I've got the microphone on in the room, there's 5 of us in the room and it's recording the meeting, does it differentiate between me and the other people in the room? At the moment, no. If you're logged into your own device, because your ID's with that device, it knows that you're speaking and it just adds that text to you when it records it inside a meeting. What is coming is the ability for Copilot to learn your voice, and then just in that meeting, it'll then use your voice to be able to tag that to the text inside the meeting, regardless of you being on your own device. Just use the microphone in the room. I'm not sure where that is. I heard it's coming soon. That'll also be locked into your tenant, because that means that your data is stays in that space as well.
Cool. Yes, you can reference, someone asked if you could reference websites. That needs to be turned on by IT. So if it's not enabled within your organization, you'd need to request that be enabled, because it's disabled by default. But yes, Microsoft 365 Copilot can reference external sites if need be.
There's a question there about custom rules in Outlook. I'll just let Joe answer the next question, and I'm going to see if I can make it do it.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that one either. I don't think so at the moment. Awareness around, yeah, so there's someone mentioned the awareness around using Copilot, and that comes around like the ethical and the secure way of using AI. And I think that's part of the benefit of using Microsoft 365 Copilot, is that everything is secure and stays within your organization. The data is not being used to train an LLM. So that in itself makes you safe and secure when your users are using it. And that's why it's so important that you get on top of the training and implement it now as well, so that people aren't using their own AI, because you can guarantee that they are, and it's just not, Copilot. They'll be using OpenAI or something like that. And they may not be aware of the fact that they're training an LLM with your company data currently. So super important. And that comes down to policies and governance and compliance as well. That's something that we work with companies on helping them design as well. So just something there.
So that, coming back to that email rule, no, it won't generate it for you from inside Outlook, but you can ask it to teach you how to do it. And it gives you 7 steps, and each step of doing it, and it uses exactly what you've asked it to do. So I said, an email comes in from so-and-so, I need it to be moved somewhere, and it's gone through and it's just automatically given me all the steps to it with the exact words I need to put in there. So there you go.
Oh.
All right, team. Oh, we've also shared just on screen right now the next webinar that we have. It's not directly related to the series that we have today, but it is unlocking the potential of Windows 11, and it is going to be one to connect into. So, and again, sponsored by our amazing PC vendors. So a huge thank you to those PC vendors that sponsored today's productivity session and enabled us to have Using Technology Better join today to go through that. And then finally, before we wrap up, just a reminder, like this is just scratching the surface. If you want a specialized session for your business or for your customers, all you need to do is reach out. Feel free to reach out to me directly, reach out to your account manager, connect with someone from Ingram Micro, and we can work through how to set that up for you or your customers. We have really tried to cram, like I said, so much into today that there is so much that we can unpack and we can get very specialized on one particular topic as well if need be. Thank you again for joining. A survey is going to be coming out to you shortly. We will continue to look through those Q&A questions and try and answer any others if there's any missed. Thanks again. See you next time.
Thanks, everyone.